kills more than salt, the worst fruit that can cause strokes and other brain diseases. Did you know that your diet might be harming your brain without you realizing it? Yes, some foods that seem harmless are causing inflammation in the blood vessels, blocking blood flow to the brain, and speeding up the appearance of diseases like strokes, dementia, and memory lapses. And the worst part, many of these threats are part of your daily routine, at breakfast, during your snack, or as dessert. But among all of them, there's one that stands out as the most dangerous. A fruit. Yes, a sweet fruit, seemingly healthy, but in excess, it can sabotage your nervous system, destroy communication between your neurons, and even trigger fatal brain arrhythmias. It's more common than you think. That's why you need to watch this video until the end. This information could change everything. Number 16. Cakes and sweets with refined sugar. Who can resist the aroma of a freshly baked cake or the taste of a sweet dessert? Although delicious, these foods hide a silent danger for the brain. Refined sugar found in cakes, pies, and desserts causes sharp spikes in blood glucose levels. These spikes are harmful because they damage the blood vessels that supply the brain. Over time, this process promotes inflammation and increases the risk of strokes. In addition to the glucose spikes, frequent consumption of sweets is related to insulin resistance. This condition directly interferes with brain function and is associated with memory loss. Studies show that a diet rich in refined sugar can accelerate brain aging. It's not just the body that suffers from excesses, but also cognitive functions like attention, focus, and reasoning. Eating cake every day might seem harmless, but could cost your brain health. Chronic inflammation is another common side effect of excessive sugar. When the brain is constantly exposed to this type of inflammation, its structures begin to deteriorate. Neural connections become weaker, and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia become more likely. Another critical point is the composition of these products. Industrial cakes and sweets often contain not only sugar, but also hydrogenated fats and artificial additives. This combination is explosive for the vascular system, especially the cerebral one. Moreover, the high glycemic index of these foods contributes to the oxidation of brain cells. In other words, what seems like a momentary pleasure could cause lasting damage. Even homemade cakes can be harmful if they are rich in white sugar and refined flour. This becomes worse when consumed on an empty stomach, like at breakfast or before bed. At these times, the impact on glucose and blood vessels is even more intense. The brain needs constant and balanced energy, not sudden bursts of sugar. Swapping sweets for fruits with a low glycemic index can be an excellent strategy. For those who want to take care of their brain health, moderation is key. Reducing refined sugar consumption doesn't mean completely eliminating life's pleasures. It simply means making more conscious choices about what goes on your plate. Number 15. Bacon. Bacon is a flavorful food and widely loved at breakfast and for quick snacks. However, it is far from harmless for the brain. Rich in saturated fats and chemicals like nitrites and nitrates, it directly attacks the blood vessels. These components increase inflammation and promote artery hardening. When cerebral circulation is impaired, neural cells stop receiving oxygen and essential nutrients. This can trigger strokes, memory loss, and other cognitive dysfunctions. Additionally, constant bacon consumption raises levels of LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol. This increase contributes to the formation of plaques in the arteries. Small daily excesses build up a big risk over time. Another problem is the frying process of bacon, which releases toxic compounds. When heated at high temperatures, it produces pro-inflammatory substances that affect the nervous system. These toxins cause silent oxidative stress, slowly damaging brain health. This is not an exaggeration, but a real warning. Continuous consumption of this food can contribute to early cognitive decline. It's important to remember that while bacon is rich in protein, that doesn't justify frequent consumption. The quality of this protein is compromised by the amount of saturated fat present. Often, it's also combined with other equally harmful foods, like white bread or fatty cheeses. This combination makes the meal even more harmful. Choosing lean and natural proteins is much more beneficial. Number 14. Soft drinks. Soft drinks are popular worldwide, but their risks for the brain are often overlooked. Loaded with sugar or artificial sweeteners, these beverages promote serious changes in cerebral vascular health. Frequent consumption is linked to increased blood pressure, vessel inflammation, and even brain shrinkage. Yes, studies show that the brain can literally shrink with excessive consumption of these drinks. A simple glass can hide much more than empty calories. Regular soft drinks have extremely high doses of refined sugar, which rapidly elevate blood glucose. This glucose spike damages the walls of vessels, including the cerebral ones, promoting clots and blockages. Meanwhile, diet soft drinks are not exempt from guilt. Their artificial sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose are neurostimulants with controversial effects. Some studies suggest that they alter brain metabolism and the gut microbiome. Another problem is the acidification of the body caused by these drinks. The altered pH weakens the body's natural defenses and compromises mitochondrial function in brain cells. This can lead to a constant inflammatory state, impairing memory and mental clarity. The damage doesn't accumulate all at once, but slowly and progressively. And the body rarely gives immediate signs of what it's suffering internally. Additionally, soft drinks contain added phosphates, which are linked to reduced bone density and muscle mass loss. This loss also affects the brain, which depends on an integrated health network to function fully. It's common for adults and the elderly to replace water with soft drinks throughout the day. But this replacement directly affects hydration and brain performance. A dehydrated brain doesn't function well and is slower. A seemingly harmless habit, like opening a can during meals, can become a daily risk factor. Cutting down or eliminating soft drink consumption is one of the most effective measures for preserving neurological health. Natural juices in moderation, teas, and especially water, are much smarter choices. And don't forget, the most dangerous fruit for the brain will be revealed in the final chapter of this video. Number 13. White bread and refined flours. White bread is one of the most consumed foods in the world, but also one of the most dangerous for the brain. Made from refined flour, it loses most of its nutrients and fiber during processing. The result is a high glycemic food, which rapidly raises blood sugar levels. This process directly affects the cerebral blood vessels, making them inflamed and more vulnerable to rupture. Over time, it increases the risk of strokes and other neurological dysfunctions. When glucose rises rapidly, the body releases a large amount of insulin. This constant cycle can lead to insulin resistance, which affects not only the pancreas, but also the brain. Studies show that this resistance is linked to cognitive decline and Alzheimer's risk. Refined flour is a silent source of inflammation, and inflammation is one of the biggest enemies of brain health. Additionally, white bread is often the base for many other harmful preparations, sandwiches with processed meats, pizzas, fried snacks, and sweets. In other words, it's not just present, but combined with other harmful substances. This food combo accelerates vascular and brain damage. Eating white bread every day might seem harmless, but it's like throwing wood on an inflammatory fire. The lack of fiber in white bread also contributes to blood sugar imbalance. Unlike whole grain versions, which release energy gradually, white bread is quickly digested. This fast digestion results in glucose spikes followed by sharp drops. And this glycemic roller coaster directly affects concentration, mood, and memory. The brain needs stable energy, not unpredictable bursts. Switching to whole grain bread with real grains without additives is an essential step to protect the brain. Even better is incorporating natural foods like fruits with skin and unprocessed cereals. It's possible to enjoy good food without compromising health. Nutritional education is the biggest investment you can make in quality of life. The sooner these changes are made, the better the impact on the future. In this chapter, we won't reveal the most dangerous fruit yet, but know it's coming. And when it's revealed, you'll understand why it can be harmful. Number 12. Ultraprocessed pizza. Ultra-processed pizza, so common in supermarket freezers, might seem convenient and tasty, but it's a dangerous combo for the brain. It combines several problematic ingredients: white flour, fatty cheese, and processed meats full of additives. This mix is highly inflammatory and directly affects the health of cerebral blood vessels. Frequent consumption can elevate the risk of strokes, in addition to promoting neurodegenerative diseases. Don't be fooled by the appetizing look. The damage is silent and progressive. The refined flour in the dough raises glucose levels rapidly, causing dangerous blood sugar fluctuations. Processed cheeses raise saturated fat and cholesterol levels. These combined effects inflame the arteries and make the brain more vulnerable to blockages. Moreover, the sodium in processed meats can raise blood pressure. High blood pressure is one of the main factors for brain strokes. Another critical point is the preservatives and colorants added to most frozen pizzas. Compounds like nitrites and phosphates are often used to preserve appearance and flavor. However, these additives interfere with neurological function and promote oxidative stress in brain cells. The brain, being highly sensitive, suffers the accumulated impacts. And the worst part is that these effects often go unnoticed until the damage is done. Cheese, in addition to fat, also contributes amino acids that in excess cause neuronal excitation. This can affect sleep, mood, and even memory chronically. And when this pizza is consumed at night, the impact may be even greater. Many people find it hard to relax after these heavy meals, which harms the circadian cycle. A light, natural dinner is always smarter for the brain. Number 11. Industrialized hamburgers. Industrialized hamburgers are among the most consumed foods in fast diets, but the price paid for convenience is high, especially for the brain. These products are rich in saturated fats, salt, colorants, and preservatives that overload the vascular system. The combination of these elements attacks the cerebral arteries, compromising blood circulation. The result: lower oxygen levels and an elevated risk of cognitive dysfunctions. Beyond the visible ingredients, there are many hidden chemical additives in ready-made hamburgers. These additives are used to enhance flavor, prolong shelf life, and mask the low quality of the meat used. Among them are phosphates, monosodium glutamate, and stabilizers. When consumed frequently, these compounds directly affect neurological functioning. A poisoned brain is a brain that doesn't perform well. Another worrying factor is the high caloric content and low nutritional density of these hamburgers. They provide a lot of empty energy without the essential micronutrients the brain needs. Moreover, the oils used to prepare them, especially in fast food chains, are reused and full of toxic substances. This creates an inflammatory environment throughout the body, which impacts the most sensitive brain structures. The consequences appear gradually: mental fatigue, forgetfulness, difficulty concentrating, and over time, more severe conditions. The link between diets rich in ultra-processed foods and cognitive decline is well established in science. People who consume industrialized hamburgers frequently tend to perform worse in memory tests. And memory is the first pillar lost with poor diet. Fortunately, there are healthy alternatives. Homemade hamburgers with lean meat, vegetables, or legumes like chickpeas are excellent options. When prepared at home without preservatives, they can be rich in flavor and nutrients. With conscious choices, it's possible to preserve the pleasure of eating without harming brain health. The secret is to avoid the artificial and reconnect with the natural. Your brain will thank you for it. Number 10. Processed meats. Processed meats are part of millions of people's routine, but their frequent presence in meals is extremely concerning. Products like sausages, ham, bologna, and salami are directly linked to cardiovascular and brain diseases. This is because these foods are rich in sodium, nitrites, and artificial preservatives. These components inflame blood vessels and increase the formation of fat plaques in the arteries. This compromises blood flow, even to the brain. The World Health Organization has already classified these meats as potentially carcinogenic. But their effects go beyond cancer risk. They affect neurological function. Constant consumption of processed meats compromises the health of the cerebral arteries, making oxygenation of the neurons more difficult. This increases the risk of strokes, cognitive loss, and early dementia. Eating processed meats is much more than ingesting protein. It's consuming packaged inflammation. These foods are often present in fast snacks, breakfasts, and sandwiches. In other words, they are consumed routinely without people realizing the cumulative damage. A sandwich with ham and cheese might seem harmless, but it's an inflammatory bomb for the brain. And the most alarming part is that this damage is silent, with no visible symptoms in the early stages. When it appears, it's too late to reverse it. In addition to nitrites and sodium, there's also the excess of saturated fat. This fat contributes to the clogging of arteries and reduces the elasticity of cerebral blood vessels. This increases the chances of blood pressure spikes and failures in neurological circulation. And compromised circulation means less nutrients and less oxygen to the brain. This directly affects memory, focus, and reasoning speed. Number 9. Artificial seasonings. Artificial seasonings like industrialized broths and ready-made condiment packets are practical and popular but dangerous for the brain. These products are rich in monosodium glutamate, a flavor enhancer with controversial effects on neurological health. Studies show that glutamate can cause excessive neuron excitation, leading to early wear. This contributes to cognitive failures and even brain degenerations. Besides MSG, These seasonings contain large amounts of sodium, which raises blood pressure. Chronic hypertension is one of the main risk factors for strokes. In the long run, excessive intake of these seasonings inflames the cerebral blood vessels and impairs arterial elasticity. This reduces the ability to transport blood and oxygen to the brain. A simple extra pinch can speed up a silent and dangerous process. Many of these products also contain artificial colorants and preservatives like BHT and BHA, which interfere with the brain's chemical balance. These substances accumulate over time and can cause hormonal and mood changes. In more sensitive individuals, even headaches and memory lapses are reported after consumption. It's slow poison, acting slyly within everyday meals. And the more frequently used, the greater the damage. It's important to observe that these seasonings are extremely addictive because of glutamate. This stimulates the brain to desire more ultra-flavored and nutrient-poor foods. Over time, you lose sensitivity to the natural taste of foods. The palate adapts to the artificial, and so does the brain. This makes it harder to transition to a natural and balanced diet. The addiction to ready-made seasonings becomes both a chemical and behavioral addiction. Number 8. Milk chocolate. Milk chocolate, loved by millions of people, is far from harmless when it comes to brain health. This industrialized version contains large amounts of refined sugar, powdered milk, and hydrogenated fats. Together, these ingredients promote vascular inflammation that compromises blood circulation in the brain. The high sugar load causes glucose spikes that damage blood vessels. This favors the formation of plaques and arterial hardening, impairing blood flow to the brain. In addition, sugar affects mood and sleep, two fundamental pillars of mental health. Frequent milk chocolate consumption tends to develop cerebral insulin resistance. This can accelerate cognitive decline. Another critical point lies in the hydrogenated fats, which raise bad cholesterol and lower good cholesterol. These fats directly interfere with the flexibility of blood vessels and neural functioning. The brain depends on healthy fats to keep its connections active. When these connections are poisoned by bad fats, symptoms like mental fatigue, forgetfulness, and apathy appear. And the effect is cumulative. The presence of powdered milk also contributes to inflammation, especially in individuals with lactose intolerance or sensitivity to milk proteins. Additionally, milk chocolate rarely contains cocoa in truly therapeutic concentrations. In other words, most bars are more of an ultra-processed sweet than a source of antioxidants. The idea that chocolate is good only applies to the dark variety, with high cocoa content and no additives. Reducing milk chocolate consumption and switching to versions with at least 70% cocoa is a good strategy. Even dark chocolate should be consumed in moderation and with attention to the label. The purer and fewer ingredients it has, the better. The taste can be acquired over time, and the benefits for the brain are real. Today's bitterness could be tomorrow's memory. It's not in this chapter that we'll reveal the most dangerous fruit for your brain, but you're getting closer to that answer, and it may surprise you for real. Number 7. French fries. Few foods are as popular as French fries, especially in fast food and at parties. But what most people don't know is that they pose a real danger to the brain. Fried in reused oils, rich in trans fats and sodium, these crunchy treats inflame the vascular system and impair cerebral circulation. The risk of clots, strokes, and cognitive loss increases with frequent consumption. And this applies even to small portions. The trans fats in French fries are highly harmful to the body. They not only raise bad cholesterol but also reduce good cholesterol, directly affecting the health of the arteries. The brain, dependent on efficient circulation, is one of the first to suffer the impacts. Furthermore, these fats damage mitochondrial function, affecting energy production in brain cells. Thinking slows down, memory fails, and energy levels drop. Another serious problem lies in the toxic compounds generated by frying, like aldehydes. These substances damage brain cells, causing oxidative stress. Over time, this aggression contributes to the brain's premature aging. In addition to the oils, the excess salt in fries is also a risk. Sodium in large quantities raises blood pressure and damages the walls of blood vessels. This favors plaque formation that blocks the flow of blood to the brain. The result can be catastrophic: strokes, mental confusion, loss of autonomy. And the worst part is that the habit of eating French fries is socially normalized, making the danger even more invisible. Swapping French fries for baked versions or prepared with olive oil could be a great alternative. Other options include crispy vegetables, homemade zucchini chips, or carrot chips. Number 6. Industrialized ice cream. Ice cream might seem like a refreshing and harmless dessert, but the truth is it hides significant risks for the brain. The industrialized version contains a harmful combination of refined sugar, saturated fat, artificial flavorings, and emulsifiers. These ingredients inflame the body and compromise vascular health, especially in brain areas. When consumed frequently, ice cream can accelerate the aging of nerve cells. And all this in a seemingly innocent spoonful. The high sugar content in ice cream causes glucose spikes that negatively affect brain functioning. These constant fluctuations damage memory, focus, and mental clarity. Over time, the brain becomes less efficient, and symptoms like mental fatigue and memory lapses emerge. And the earlier the consumption begins, the greater the accumulated damage over the years. It's a pleasure that comes with a steep price. The fats used in industrialized ice creams are mostly saturated or hydrogenated. They raise bad cholesterol levels and make blood circulation more difficult. Since the brain is a highly vascularized organ, any compromise in this flow directly impacts its functions. Neural connections become slower, and neurogenesis, the birth of new neurons, can be hindered. The result? A more vulnerable brain. Additionally, the emulsifiers and stabilizers present in these products affect gut flora. This might seem like a distant detail, but the gut and brain are closely connected. An imbalance in the digestive system can lead to mood changes, anxiety, and even depression. What happens in your gut, your brain feels. Eating too much ice cream can misalign this vital axis without you noticing. Number 5. Box juice. Box juices are marketed as healthy and practical options, but they hide serious dangers for brain health. Despite the colorful labels and promises of rich in vitamins, these drinks are often just concentrated fructose with chemical additives. Excess fructose, especially industrially processed, overloads the liver and alters brain metabolism. This fosters the emergence of inflammation in the blood vessels of the brain. And inflammation is the foundation for serious neurological diseases. One of the main problems is that these juices go through pasteurization processes that eliminate almost all natural nutrients. What's left is liquid sugar and additives that mimic the taste of fruit. This generates a high glycemic load that negatively impacts the nervous system. Repeated glucose spikes cause oxidative stress in the brain, impairing cognitive performance. Memory, learning, and attention are directly affected. Many box juices also contain colorants, preservatives, and artificial flavorings. These substances not only deceive the palate, but also interfere with brain chemistry. They can trigger adverse reactions, especially in people with higher sensitivity. Children and the elderly are most vulnerable to these impacts. Even juices labeled as 100% fruit are not always what they promise. Read the labels carefully. Another critical point is how these juices are consumed, on an empty stomach, in large quantities, and with high frequency. This increases sugar absorption and accelerates the impact on the central nervous system. The body interprets this glucose explosion as a threat, releasing insulin and promoting inflammation. The repetition of this process leads to the exhaustion of brain function. It's a subtle but powerful attack. To protect your mind, opt for fresh fruits and pure water. If you want real juice, make it at home and consume it right away, with no sugar and in moderation. Adding fibers like flax or oats can help reduce the glycemic impact. A simple habit like this can preserve mental clarity for much longer. And remember, what's overly practical often comes with a high price for your health. The time hasn't come yet to reveal the most dangerous fruit for the brain. But the revelation is getting closer, and it will deeply surprise you. Number 4. Microwave popcorn. Microwave popcorn is seen by many as a practical and even healthy snack. But the version with artificial flavor hides serious dangers for the brain. These products contain substances like diacetyl, a flavoring linked to neurological damage in laboratory studies. Diacetyl can cross the blood-brain barrier and directly affect neurons. This causes silent inflammations that, over time, can lead to real cognitive impairments. Another villain present in this type of popcorn is trans fats, used to preserve texture and flavor for longer. These fats are directly associated with cardiovascular diseases, brain inflammation, and cognitive decline. Frequent consumption blocks proper brain circulation, impairing the delivery of oxygen and nutrients. And a poorly nourished brain doesn't function well, not today nor in the future. Additionally, the packaging of these popcorns often contains perfluorinated compounds used to prevent fat leakage. These substances accumulate in the body and are linked to hormonal changes and brain damage. The problem isn't just in the popcorn itself, but also in what surrounds it. A simple microwave snack can be a combination of harmful chemicals that slowly poison the body. The amount of sodium in these products is also alarming. A small bag can exceed the daily salt recommendation. This raises blood pressure and puts the cerebral blood vessels under constant stress. The result can be a stroke, especially in people with a genetic predisposition. And the most frightening part, most people consume this kind of popcorn without realizing the risk involved. Switching microwave popcorn for a version made in a pan with organic corn and olive oil is one of the best decisions you can make. In addition to being healthier, it preserves flavor and eliminates the risks of additives and plastics. Small changes in your routine can have a great impact on brain health. There's no need to give up popcorn, just choose a safer path. Prevention can start at your next movie session. Number 3. Condensed milk. Condensed milk is a beloved ingredient in desserts and homemade recipes, but its impact on the brain is deeply concerning. Rich in concentrated sugar, it causes extreme glucose spikes in the blood. This glucose overload compromises the health of the cerebral blood vessels, promoting inflammation and the risk of micro-injuries. Over time, these damages erode memory, reasoning, and increase the risk of dementia. A sweet food that, in fact, sours neurological health. In addition to sugar, condensed milk is high in calories and offers virtually no nutritional value. This means it delivers a lot of energy without offering the vitamins, minerals, or antioxidants that protect the brain. Frequent consumption stimulates insulin resistance, a process that also affects brain functioning. This resistance impairs glucose metabolism, the main energy source for neurons. The brain, then, starts to operate at a deficit. Excess glucose in the blood is also directly linked to oxidative stress. This process generates free radicals that attack brain cells and accelerate the aging of the nervous system. The brain begins to function more slowly, less efficiently, and more vulnerably to degenerative diseases. Continuous exposure to these silent damages can compromise quality of life in the long term. Condensed milk can also induce overeating, especially due to its intense sweet taste. The brain reacts with a rapid release of dopamine, the pleasure hormone. This vicious cycle leads to repeated consumption and difficulty controlling portions. The more you consume, the more you crave, and the more the brain is affected. A spiral that installs itself without the person realizing it. Avoiding condensed milk doesn't mean renouncing the pleasure of eating well. There are healthier, more natural alternatives to sweetened recipes such as coconut milk with dried fruits, dates, or natural yogurts. These substitutions reduce the inflammatory impact on the brain and still offer beneficial nutrients. The secret is to transform dessert into an ally, not a threat. A new habit can completely change your neurological destiny. Number 2. Chicken with hormones. Chicken is one of the most consumed meats in the world, considered a lighter and healthier alternative. However, when it comes from intensive, non-organic farming, it carries hidden dangers for the brain. Many industrial chickens contain residues of growth hormones and antibiotics. Although allowed in some regulations, these substances directly affect the nervous system and hormonal balance. This silently and cumulatively impacts brain health. The hormones in the meat can alter the functioning of the hormonal axis that regulates mood, sleep, and brain metabolism. This interference can contribute to anxiety, depression, and cognitive imbalances. Moreover, antibiotics used indiscriminately affect gut flora. And since the gut is directly connected to the brain, this dysbiosis can cause important neurological consequences. Mental health starts at the plate. Another serious problem is the inflammation caused by these hormonal residues. The body starts to recognize these substances as threats, triggering inflammatory processes. Inflammation also reaches the brain's blood vessels, reducing their efficiency and increasing the risk of microinfarcts. The brain, under constant attack, responds with loss of mental clarity and cognitive slowdown. All this without any visible immediate symptoms. Industrial chicken is also often rich in sodium and chemical additives used to maintain color and texture. These ingredients increase fluid retention and blood pressure, compromising cerebral blood flow. People who frequently consume this type of meat have a higher predisposition to neurological diseases. What seems like a healthy choice may be a disguised poison. To avoid these risks, it's best to opt for organic or free-range chickens raised without hormones and fed with natural food. They offer quality protein without the side effects of industrial products. Choosing reliable suppliers and preparing without refined oils are simple but powerful steps. Eating real meat, not a processed product, is an act of self-care. Your mind will thank you for it. But if you think hormone-treated meats are dangerous, wait until you discover which fruit might be silently sabotaging your brain. Yes, a fruit, and it's the subject of the next and final chapter. I'll give you a hint. It's the excessive consumption. Number 1. Bananas in excess. Bananas are an extremely popular fruit and, in many ways, healthy. Rich in potassium, magnesium, and vitamins, they are known to help with sleep, digestion, and muscle health. However, excessive consumption, especially in people with kidney problems or hypertension, can be a true poison for the brain. Bananas, when consumed in large quantities, can raise potassium levels to dangerous levels. And this directly affects the central nervous system. Excess potassium in the blood, a condition called hyperkalemia, can interfere with the electrical impulses that keep the brain and heart functioning. In more severe cases, it causes arrhythmias, muscle weakness, and mental confusion. The brain suffers when the body's internal electricity gets unbalanced. Even without immediate symptoms, this imbalance can worsen silently over time, especially in people with impaired kidney function. Bananas are also rich in simple carbohydrates, which rapidly turn into sugar in the blood. When consumed in excess, especially at night, they can cause glucose spikes followed by drops. This up and down affects mood, concentration, and sleep quality. In individuals sensitive to insulin, the impact can be even greater. What seems like a light snack can become fuel for brain dysfunction. Another point of attention is the cumulative effect of bananas in poorly balanced diets. People who consume several portions a day, thinking they are doing good, may be disrupting their body's electrolyte balance. This overburdens the kidneys, alters blood pressure, and harms cerebral blood vessels. The mind becomes sluggish, focus decreases, and brain vitality weakens. A poorly dosed choice brings unexpected effects. Of course, bananas can be part of a healthy diet when consumed in moderation. One portion a day is enough to gain their benefits without risk. But ignoring their limits can turn an ally into an aggressor. Awareness about quantity and context is key to keeping the fruit as an ally. Because even the healthiest foods can be harmful if used improperly. And if you want to keep receiving the best videos for your health, subscribe to the channel, because it exists for one reason only, to make you a healthier person with a better quality of life. Helping you is my mission. In the video now appearing on your screen, I reveal the 15 best foods you should eat to save your legs and joints. Click on the screen and check it out. So, see you in the next video.